Yeah. Hey, Coach. Good morning. I was hoping for an overall health update on the team on Xavier, Jordan, and Logan, and specifically on Xavier. Is he far enough along in his rehab now that you are comfortable that he's going to be back at some point this season?
Not really. I mean, he's been out there trying to shoot a little bit. He just got out of the boot. So I mean, I just don't know. I mean, it's hard to say when he's going to actually be back. If you ask Xavier, he thinks he can play tomorrow. And listen, I've been around basketball a long time. It's impossible. The guy broke his foot. So I'm not using that in a negative way. I wish he could play tomorrow, but I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to deal with the guys that are in uniform.
Alec.
Hold on, let me ask with Geronimo. Geronimo, I think, shot a little bit yesterday. He's had a calf strain. So that's what's keeping him out. And Logan has got a major sinus infection again. So, I mean, I've known players that have had calf problems, and that's something you can't tinker with or mess around with, or you can be out for a longer period of time, if you come back too soon. So I don't know. I don't know what the outcome is. I haven't gotten a report today, since I've been in the office, and I'll get it here in a few on those guys and see where they are.
Thank you.
Alec.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, looking at Purdue, that offense revolves around a guy like Zach Edey. But what impresses you most about their backcourt, starting two freshmen, and kind of the job that they've done up to this point in the season?
They've done a tremendous job. I mean, what can you say? You got playing with two freshmen and a big guy in the middle. That says a lot. Matt has done a great job with his ball club. They say you can't win with freshmen, a lot of times in college basketball, but they're proving that, they belong, and they're in a system that fits them, and they're playing well.
Todd Golden.
Hey, Mike. When it comes to a player as influential as Edey is with Purdue, how risky is it to get too caught up in, changing your own principles to try to account for him? How do you kind of strike that balance when you have a player like that?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I've coming out of the NBA, I've been around, dominant centers, and a la Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, he's not Hakeem, but, you get so in tune to, just stopping him. But, they got other supporting pieces around Edey that's played well this year. So it's a double hit. I mean, you got to lock into Edey. I mean, and not, I thought last year we played him well, but, he's playing more minutes this year. He is the guy. They had the other big guy that they had, Williams, I think, last year along with him. So, I'm watching film and watching other teams play, man. I mean, he's a tough matchup. I mean, for anybody. And we just got to make sure that, he doesn't go off and try to play him in as tough as we can. I mean, as last year we, here, Trace didn't even get a chance to play him. He played 11 minutes, I think 11, 12 minutes. But, we got to focus in on the whole team. I mean, because they, I look at what Gibbs last night had 29 points, I believe. Gillis had 29 last night. So, I mean, we just got to make a total team effort to just play. I mean, I don't want to get caught up into this, Trace Edey thing. I mean, they're both great players. They play in well this year for their both teams. And we just got to see where it leads us.
Tom Brew.
Mike, with someone like him, though, and all the shooters around him, how important is it to do a lot of different things defensively against them through the course of the game? And secondly, how important is it really just to defend better without fouling? It seems that's been a bit of an issue for you guys lately.
Well, again, I don't mind the fouls if it's fair both ways. I'm telling our guys to play hard and try to play more physical and get into the ball and things of that nature. And, I don't think our team should be punished for that. There are teams that do it too, and, when you look at Edey, he's seen double teams, he's seen zones. The guy is just a big presence in the middle that demands the ball. And they go to him a lot more than they did last season because he didn't play the minutes that he's playing now last season. So, my thing is, we got to just play him as hard as we can play him and make sure that the surrounding pieces don't, go off and see what happens. I mean, we're going to have to play, too. I mean, offensively, we're going to have to make shots to keep them honest as well. But our defense has got to be a signature coming into that game. I mean, we're going to have to defend and rebound with this team.
Zach.
Mike, I recognize there may not be just a hard and fast answer to this question, but you mentioned Gillis. He had more points last night than he's had, I think, the previous 6 games before that. What's the balance you strike when you're looking at a game plan between not wanting to alter, sort of what you plan, but when a player has a game that's that much of an outlier, not wanting to maybe ignore it, I guess?
I mean, you can't ignore it. I mean, guy gets 29 points in a college game, he can play. So, I mean, and hell, if he didn't get 29 points, I still think he's a good player. So, I mean, you just got to respect everybody that plays on the floor and then play them as hard as you can. I mean, it ain't scientific or some big deal where we got to figure out how to stop just Gillis. They got a good team. I mean, they're 20-something-1. So they doing something right. So, I mean, you're going to have to play their team. And they got 2 nice pieces with Gillis and Edey, but they got surrounding pieces too that are played well for them as well.
Jim.
Coach, thanks for your time. They're freshmen, obviously, 2 freshmen that have played pretty well for the most part of the season, but they are freshmen. Indiana, of course, with Jalen as a freshman, but some experience with Trey. What can you do or planning to do can you try to put more pressure on those freshmen to try to make it uncomfortable for them? What is the plan or thoughts going into that?
Listen, guys, when we're good, we defend, we rebound, and we share the ball and we shooting the ball. I mean, coming into the Maryland game, we had been playing great offense. I mean, no doubt about everybody. The ball was moving and guys were making shots and feeling good about themselves. Well, the same thing has got to apply on Saturday. I mean, we got to make shots, and then our defense has got to hold, man. We got to defend and rebound. I mean, it will be a battle because they defend too. They try to get after it as well. So, when you got 2 teams that are banging around, best man's going to win. That's kind of how I look at it. And, I'm just anxious to get to the game to see where we are against, the #1 team in the nation.
Alex.
Thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Tomorrow obviously had that really big game against Michigan State, but you look at the other 5 games in this last 6-game stretch, he's had 9 points total. Do you need to see more consistency out of him offensively, and maybe what can you do to maybe get that out of him?
Well, it's not like he's not playing the minutes. We just got to get him in a good place, mentally, because he can make shots. And when he makes shots, we're pretty good. I mean, I look at our perimeter play the other night, we were 5 for 32. And that's, you're lucky to even be in the game. I mean, obviously our defense was okay. You hold them to 30 and 20-something from the 3. That's why you were in the game. But, it's hard to beat teams when you go 5 for 32 with your perimeter play. So, and our perimeter play has been pretty good as of late. The 5-game winning streak, everybody was, pitching in and doing their part. And that's how it's got to be, the rest of the way if we're going to continue to win games.
Tyler.
Hey, Coach. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, growing up in Indiana, do you just have any favorite memories of the IU-Purdue rivalry or things that stick out watching it when you were growing up?
Well, again, I mean, it's just been it's the biggest game in the state of Indiana. I was recruited by Purdue and had a visit set to go to Purdue, and I canceled it right at the last minute, based on my conversation with Coach Knight, because I'd already committed. I hadn't been anywhere, so I was just going to take me a trip, and didn't make the trip, and glad I didn't, because Indiana is home for me and where I always wanted to go. But the rivalry is just what it is, man. I mean, they have their fan base and we have our fan base, and the games have been pretty competitive. I know last year both games were very, very competitive games, and I can't help but think Saturday's going to be a competitive game as well when we go up to Purdue.
Last question, Tom.
Mike, you spent 40 years in the NBA, and I always shake my head when I listen to people talk about how there's no place in the league for a guy like Zach Edey's skills and no place in the league for a guy with Trace's skills. When you look at those two guys, you see what you see, especially what they've both done this year. Those are professional players in your mind, aren't they?
Without a doubt. I mean, I look at our guy in Trace Jackson. I mean, he rebounds, he blocks shots, he defends, he finishes at the rim, he runs the floor, he passes the ball. I mean, what part of basketball, as a coach, you can use all those things on a basketball floor. That's what's amazing to me. And here's, Big Edey. Edey gets up and down the floor. He might not be as mobile as some bigs, but he's mobile enough to do what he's doing. And he's a low down low, so this thing of big men, can't play in the NBA or don't have is crazy. I mean, somebody's going to take a shot at both of these players, and they're going to be happy as hell when they get them, because, I don't know what Edey does, but I got to think he's a good young man and he works hard, and our guy does the same thing. So, I mean, you're getting quality people. You just got to teach them the NBA game once they get at that level, because it is another jump, and you definitely is faster. You got to figure out things once you get at that level. But I think both of them are capable of playing in the league, and they deserve to be in the NBA because they're good enough.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.